Hey everyone, welcome to Hope for Survival YouTube. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you following and staying with us on this journey. It's always good to come here and share thoughts with you. Uh, this video I will try to keep as upbeat and positive as possible, but I need to talk to you about something that's weighing heavily on me, and over the last months, maybe up to a year, it's one of those things that's weighted me, and I wasn't sure what it was, so it kind of took me back to the past to bring me current day, and I want to share that with you because it involves you. So some of you who have been with the Hope for Survival journey may recall about 5 years ago when after we got through the initial phase of basic preparedness, food, water, shelter, security, medical, communications, and so forth, I laid out a plan and then a class called the 5 Mile Radius. And I explained to you how it came about, and just a short recap, I was down in Franklin, North Carolina, having dinner and sharing the 5 Mile Radius thoughts with a preparedness group from that area of North Georgia, Western North Carolina. And I departed there at 10 p.m. and I was headed for Asheville, North Carolina to stay the night to brief a group from Fletcher and Asheville on Saturday at noon. Well, it was pouring snow, and it was a couple-hour drive from Franklin over to where I was going near outside of Asheville. Well, events that occurred along that trip took away my focus to where I was heading, and next thing I know, I had driven through the gorge coming out of western North Carolina up to East Tennessee, and I was sitting in my driveway in the pouring snow. And the only way I could describe what happened was I believe that the Lord was a passenger in my vehicle, and He was telling me that I needed to keep teaching the 5 Mile Radius and preparing people, and I needed to do it in a hurry. So from that path forward, I've taught the 5 Mile Radius class to as many people as to who will listen to it. And we went through an election a few months ago, and a lot of folks let their guard down, and they think because we have a new administration that things are hunky-dory. And if you're paying attention to what's going on, things are not getting better. The new administration is in a battle, and the government in Washington, D.C. and across the country with protests and riots. We got skirmishes and wars popping up around the globe, and the government is on the verge of passing a bill that's going to add $3 to $4 trillion more dollars to our already $33 trillion deficit, and we're strangleholding our children and grandchildren. But on a bigger scale, several years ago in 2019, when I wrote my first book, Hope for Survival, How Food, Water, Shelter, Security Could Save Your Life. This is book 1. If you don't have it, you can buy it off of our website. All proceeds goes to charity, to a food bank. But on page 13 in that book, I wrote, few rarely consider they are 9 meals away from the beginning of starvation. There is a national mindset that the government will come to the rescue and save the day. Then when that doesn't happen, it's because the president in office is a racist or hates a particular race or socioeconomic class. How about a greater insult to the ego? You are not a high priority to the government. Basically, you don't matter. And we've kind of moved forward with that understanding over the last 5.5 years, is that people need to understand that because of how the government is set up, it's not personal, but the main focus is on national infrastructure at the local level, county, state, and federal level, is to get critical infrastructure back up and running again, get roads open, communications flowing, hospitals working, and so forth. Return power, return water. But where does that leave you? And over the last few months, something led me and my heart followed. And I've been looking at historical events, say, over the last 20 to 30 years. And it involves the military, and it involves the national populace here in the United States. And I found case after case after case after case of military operations that went wrong. U.S. troops were killed, and investigations basically were butterflied and stamped, and no one was taking responsibility. On many of these, they believe there were leaks and that our troops were set up, costing many Navy SEALs, Delta, Green Berets their lives, being shot down, primarily in Afghanistan, also events over in Somalia. We can go as far back as to the Second Gulf War, and that Iraq had nukes, and then it turned out they didn't have nukes, and we ended up in a long war and major investments that's questionable, and so on and so forth, and the taxpayers are footing the bill again. And we can go as current as Hurricane Helene, and we can look at the failed response by the government to come to the aid of the American people when they needed support the most. And I'm not talking about it from a blame perspective. I'm talking about it from a reliability perspective, in that when all fails, who is there to lift you and help you? And that is your family and your community. Okay? And the one-way conversation that took place in my truck 5.5 years ago, driving across North Carolina, of I needed to keep teaching the 5-mile radius as fast as possible and prepare as many people as fast as possible, has been looming in my mind and in my heart for the last several months. And then I come across the current ongoing threat of sleeper cells in America that could pop up at any time. And I will tell you, having spent 10 to 15 years of my life working in the field of terrorism, anti-terrorism, and building plans and trying to put in hardware and infrastructure and train people's mindsets to keep them safe, so that if they had to make their own decisions at a moment, that they were trained and they knew how to do it. And that's kind of what led me to start to reach out to Festus and talk about starting Hope for Survival and training individuals on preparedness. Okay, and a lot of folks have tired out. They've hit a lull. They've reached a mindset that everything's going to be okay, and there are a large group of GWAT, or Global War on Terrorism veterans, I've mentioned this before, who are out trying to sound the alarm and ring the bell of preparing families and communities and authorities on how to harden their targets and train and be prepared in the event one of these terrorist strikes happen in and around your community. And as so it normally happens, I was reading a book, The Gathering Storm by the Pineapple Press. It's a special order book, and it's authored by unnamed GWAT veterans discussing how to prepare for the coming threat of terrorist cells in America. And much of what is in this book is an area that we've covered under the 5 Mile Radius platform. But there was something I came across in this book that reminded me of the conversation that was one way that I listened that took place in my truck. And the paragraph says, "We interviewed numerous federal, state, and local law enforcement along with other first responders and emergency management officials. There was a common consensus. Our government entities are not prepared to protect our country from the type of localized attack that is coming." And that is on page 11, chapter 2. If you have or you get this book, you can read it there. And again, it's just a reminder. It reminded me back to what occurred several years ago and the effort that we have put forth. And so much of this is the mindset, hardening your mindset, hardening your target, understanding the OODA loop. If you are out and about in your community, or you are attending a parade, or you're attending a concert, or something at a local community area, and something looks out of the ordinary or suspicious, that you can see it and reflect, excuse me, and take immediate action to get you and your loved ones out of harm's way, or can even find quickly a law enforcement official and point something that may be wrong. It may be a backpack sitting by a trash can, or an individual that doesn't fit the makeup of the people attending the event, that you see maybe drop a backpack in a community garbage can, a vehicle that's out of place, someone that's driving slowly by the event, an ambulance that doesn't appear to be actually an ambulance. It could be a first responder vehicle. It could be drones hovering over the area. It could come in many shapes or forms. There's more to it than looking up and seeing that something is suspicious to you. It is knowing if you need to and when to take action to get yourself away from that potential target area. And so far to this point, there is zero, I repeat, zero coming out of our federal government and state governments as to this threat, other than them telling us that the threat looms out there. There's all kind of chatter and things of that nature. Okay, and they're basically kind of leaving it up to us and the local community. It's what we do with it now that is going to potentially make a difference. Most people aren't going to want to hear it. They're going to call you an alarmist or a fearmonger, and as typical in our populace, in most cases, until something happens, it's not a priority, right? How many people have you confronted over the past months and years that you've tried to encourage to prepare and put some extra food back and things of that nature? You know, when you show them in writing that the federal government is soon to be $37 trillion in debt, with about a $250 million liability in Social Security, retirements, military retirements, and things of that nature, that they can't pay these bills. They're just printing more paper, okay? And you can look at it however you want, but the point is the debt keeps going up. We don't produce anything in our country. It seems our government is doing everything they can to stop us from producing anything in our country. In the meantime, we're sending hundreds of millions of dollars in aid to foreign entities. Elon Musk went through and found all kind of government waste, and how much did that do for us? Zero. Nothing happened with it. Nothing's going to happen with it. We got hundreds, if not thousands, of people drawing government checks for Social Security when the individuals are deceased. They may not even live in our country, and it just goes on and on and on. The point I'm trying to make to you is it's not bad government. My point is that you are on your own, and you definitely need to focus on preparing you and your community, okay, in many ways. All right, spiritually, physically, would be a good start, and through resources, putting resources back for yourself, maybe for your neighbors, to help them. Be cognizant of hardening your target. It may not be your home, but it may be where you work at, okay? What kind of people frequent your establishments, okay? It goes on and on and on. Okay, I'm not saying step down from what you stand for. What I'm saying is that you don't want to be labeled as a soft target and then become a target on any account. Okay, and most of the time the individuals who are running surveillance, they will pick 3 or 4 targets. They'll surveil them, and if they deem the targets to be hard targets, they move on to another target. They try to find a softer target, then they'll focus in on 24/7 as to movement, people, and so forth, coming in, coming out, and on and on and on. There's more to it, but these are things you've got to focus in on. So I just wanted to share this with you. I believe that it's more important than ever. Before we're coming up on a major holiday in 4 days. We're going to have people out doing parades and having cookouts and festivities in the water and fireworks shows and things of that nature. And think about it. What would possibly be an easier target than for a threat to target a fireworks show when there's all kind of noise and fireworks going off that most people would not be able to differentiate an explosion or gunshots from, than the fireworks going off. So that's just one example of many that we could talk about. So anyway, you can take this for what it's worth to you, and if you got any questions, shoot me an email at preparedness101@protonmail.com. Leave your comments down below. If you like this video, hit like. And if you haven't subscribed, please hit the subscribe button. And if never before, now is a great time for you to pray for your country and your fellow Americans and your family. And remember, no matter how bad and threatening it seems, I can tell you, I've been to over 100 countries in the world. There's no place I would rather be than right here in the United States of America. There's nothing that compares to it. So thanks for being out there. You all be blessed. Bravo Echo out.